Alright, disclaimer. This is a personal YouTube channel. Any views or opinions represented in this YouTube channel are personal and solely belong to me as the owner and do not represent those people, organizations, or institutions that I or may not be associated with in professional or personal capacity unless explicitly stated. Any views or opinions are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or any individual. So let's go now to the mitigating plan. All right. So what is mitigation plan? I take it back. It's not mitigating plan, but it's a mitigation plan. All right. Yeah, it's collective pairing. So it's measures envisaged in order to avoid, reduce, and remedy significant adverse effects of a project. That's what we meant by mitigation plan. So the EC Directive 85-337, that is actually based on the European Commission Directive 85-337. So it also means when we say mitigation plans, it means no taking certain actions, limiting the proposed action and its implementation, repairing, rehabilitation, or restoring the affected environment, replacing or providing substitute resources or environments. That's actually according to NEPA in EPA. So, what are the criteria for mitigating measures? First is they should not cause unacceptable impacts. Because when we say mitigating measures, these are the measures that we have to do to lessen the adverse effects. Yeah, so they should not cause unacceptable impacts. So again, when we say mitigating measures, these are the measures that we have to do to lessen the adverse effects of a certain impact. And then if our mitigating measures will lead to another impacts again, then therefore it's not an effective mitigating measure because it resulted to another impact. And worse is if it's an acceptable impact. And then they should be economically feasible because we always have to consider that. For example, the adverse impact is let's go to a mining project again. The adverse impacts of the mine tailings is, let us say, would cost, if we are going to put value to it, would cost 5 million peso. And then for them to minimize the mine tailings of the mining activity is they have to invest to a technology, to a certain way of drilling and certain way of processing the extracted minerals. If it would cost them like 5 times that much, for example, if it would cost them for the mine tailing like 5 million peso, and for them to invest on a new technology, it would cost them to 25 million peso. So though it is economically feasible, because if the mining company is rich enough, then they can just dispense 25 million peso. But if it is bigger than the, let us say, the environmental value of the mine tailings, then therefore that might not be economically feasible. So in a mitigating measure, we have to always consider the economic aspect, the economically feasible aspect of that mitigating measure. Though in the context of environmental scientists, for an environmental scientist, they might say like, a pollution, for example, on that certain aspect, a mine tailing to a certain environment, might, it's more than 25 million per se. They might react to that, but in the context of an economist, if we are going to consider an economist, then that might they might tend to have another another advice to that. But still, again, when it comes to mitigating measure, we have to consider it that it should be economically feasible. And then, of course, the third criteria is it should be effective, because there's no sense of having a mitigating measure if it's not effective enough. It's just a waste of time, or it's just a waste of effort to put it there to have a mitigating measure if it is not effective. So there are types of mitigating measures. First is impact avoidance. If we can avoid the impact, then that would be better. So examples is, for example of this is, for example, control of solid and liquid waste by recycling on site or by removing them from the site for treatment elsewhere. If we can already recycle on site, for example, the best way and the easiest example for that is segregation in our household. If it's possible to recycle waste from our household, from the source itself, then that would be better than throwing them away, recycling them and giving it to the dumping trucks and let them desegregate that. It would add another effort. So again, impact avoidance. The next example is establishment of buffer zones and minimal use of toxic substances to avoid impacts on local ecosystems. So when we say buffer zones, these are the areas that would serve as a buffer or would serve as a an area that would protect us before a certain impact. For example, roads. There are areas that along the roads there are always trees. So the reason for that, those trees are actually considered as buffer zones. Well, I don't know in the context of engineering, but in the context of environmental science, we can consider that as a buffer zone, because dust and other pollutants from the vehicles can be um, can be not absorbed, can be absorbed, or it can be filtered first by the trees along the roads before it goes to the other areas, or it can be before this exhaust pollutants, combustion or combust pollutants, before they can be diffused to other areas, it can be filtered first by the trees along the roads. So that's an example of a buffer zone. When we say minimal use of toxic substances, if we can minimize the usage of the toxic substances on the specific, on the local area itself, then it would be better to do that than use um, yeah minimal use of toxic substances. Actually, that's self-explanatory. But for example, you are doing laundry, and well, I don't know if you are economical or not, but when I do my laundry, I only put enough detergent for my laundry. Though there are people that they want to see their washing machine, like the bubbles are coming out from their washing machines. There are people that are like that. But me, no. I would just put some detergent that as long as it's not, it bubbles enough. And for me, if it's already enough for the clothes, then that's already okay. Though if we are going to think about it, our detergents are not toxic, but actually its main composition is phosphate, and high amount of phosphate that are being excuse me, that are being deposited in our lakes, rivers, and ocean itself would actually increase phosphate. And as we know, phosphate is a good food for algae. However, um, too much food for the algae can actually cause algal bloom. So to that, of course, it can impact the ecosystem. For on that specific example, it can impact a certain lake ecosystem or a certain river ecosystem. So on that aspect, if we can lower on our locality, on our own household, or you yourself doing your laundry, if we can lessen the amount of detergent that we use, that is enough only for our clothes, and therefore that would be good. So we can already avoid the impact of, quote unquote, later the algal bloom. So yeah, that's the minimal use of toxic substances. Next type of mitigation measures is impact reduction.